All right, guys. Clinton things. Lauren Kalil, CNY reunion party.
Bow down
We
to the
bow to the
queen.
Woo!
queen,
Bow down to the queen.
and
She's
we're
here.
so grateful for having her here. She was gracious enough to come on. We're super pumped about it. Again, we were just kind of saying like, hey, like this is so cool. We never get to talk to. We've talked to so many dudes, and now you know
I'm sure
Dudes
you
love
feel
to
that too.
talk.
They do, don't they?
it is funny
They
because
do.
they say we like to, but they really like to talk. So
It's really funny and very interesting how much men love to talk.
a good time.
I feel like women get the bad rap that we're the chatty Cathys, but I know a lot of dudes that will talk for hours.
Yes, and have to have the last word, have to make the biggest noise
Mm.
sometimes,
Mm.
and, sometimes we're just like, "Hey, we're just asking a question," and then you get the whole explanation, so
It's always
But
a
if
good time.
yeah, for sure,
we
for sure.
did name this the CNY reunion for a reason. We were all born in upstate. My wife and I were born in Utica, and you're from Clinton. Clinton.
Yeah, my whole family still lives there. Well, my brother
My
moved to
dad's there.
Florida because he likes the heat, but your dad's in Clinton?
Yeah, my dad lives in Clinton. Yeah,
What
so
part?
I've freaking no idea. Like, I literally I was born there, and then my mom took me all the way down to Long Island, like
Mm.
6 weeks later at that 6 week checkup. I just started going back up there. That's how I met my wife because she's lived there her whole life until now.
Mhm. Were you born in Utica? Were you born in Syracuse?
Yeah, I was born in New Hartford, and my family, like my cousins, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, almost all of them still live within like a 10-mile radius of Clinton.
Mhm, mhm, and you got out. You were one of the ones that got out, very much like me. I'm one of the only ones in my family that, chose to go somewhere else, and, but when's the last time you were back there to visit? Do you go often?
Oh, yeah, my sister and brother-in-law, they actually just had their 2nd child, so I was there maybe 3 weeks ago, and then I'm gonna meet up with my sister and niece and nephew tomorrow. So I see them probably a couple times a month, but it's funny because I got away for over 10 years where I was living in the Midwest, I was living in Connecticut, and then right before my sister had gotten married, I took a job in Syracuse, and I'm like, "Okay, this is close enough to home where I can drive to visit, but
Mhm.
still I'm far enough that my mom can't just show up at my door without me knowing."
Is that where you so you're back up there? You are back up there. Syracuse is
So I'm in Syracuse, which is about 45 minutes from Clinton,
mhm.
but I feel like I'm home less than I'm actually here. So
Yeah, you
calling this like
travel a lot.
home is all relative.
Yeah, you definitely travel a lot. Um, so also something that we found out just by DMing each other was that we both grew up in the dance world, and it's amazing to me because
So funny.
we grew up in the same circle without growing up in the same circle. So tell us a little about your mom and her legacy and dance studio that she has up there.
Yeah, so my mom owns a dance studio. She had started the business. Gosh, how old am I? If I'm 32, my sister's 35, so probably like maybe pushing 40 years ago. She had
Wow.
started it. It was close to right after college that she opened up her dance studio. And then, of course, me and my sister grew up dancing and did the whole competitive thing. And it's so funny because my mom, her hopes and dreams were that me or my sister would take over the dance studio someday. And growing up, we both kind of fought about it, saying, "Oh, I'm gonna own it. No, you're gonna own it. Maybe we'll co-own it, whatever."
Mhm,
And my sister, she still teaches a little bit. She's a lawyer. She actually works for my dad, but she'll teach maybe like once or twice a week at my mom's studio. And then I did for a short time, I think it was out of college, I would come and teach a couple classes for my mom. And then eventually I was like, my life is kind of taking a different direction. Like, I'm not going to do this dance thing anymore. But it's so
yeah.
funny because I competed in college and, I'll still watch YouTube videos every now and then, or my mom or sister will send it to me. And it truly, that's like the best group of friends that I could ever have was the women that I danced with, and we all still keep in touch, and it's like really cool to have that type of experience. I'm curious if you're still close with your friends from growing up dancing too.
So I have one that I am. I mean, she lives out west. She's in California, so we don't really see each other that much. And I mean, I'm
Mhm.
sure you can attest to this. When you move away, like life is so busy, and it's not that you don't mean to stay connected with certain people, but like when life takes you one way, and then someone else's life takes them another way, and then especially when I became a mom, it kind of was just like we tried to talk and we tried to stay connected or whatever, but I didn't have, from what it sounds like, you had a really close connection with your teammates and with your girls.
Mhm.
I didn't really have that. Like I had a couple that I was kind of close with, um but I really grew up in the space of competitive, not just outside in different studios, but within the studio itself. So I jumped around. I know I
Mhm.
gave you like a laundry list of many
Yeah,
different studios that I jumped
I
around.
recognize them all though.
Oh, do you? Like Step of Jodie Ann too?
Yeah.
You remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I
The
started,
dance community is very small.
especially up there. And I feel like
Yeah.
everybody knows someone, and the other studios that were created were from members of the roots of Step of Jodie Ann. So like this one started her own, this one started her own. Dance Center became Dance Center
Oh,
after Step
okay.
of Jodie Ann. So
That
Jodie
makes
sold
sense.
it to, the owner of Dance Center. But when I was with Jody, it was very much, I was also younger. So I didn't really start
Mhm.
competing until I was 11 or 12. When did you start competing? About the same? Or were you
God,
younger?
no. I was 6 was my first dance competition.
6.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was off stage a lot, but I was there.
Like in a big production
Present and
kind of
accounted
thing?
for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a big production. So it wasn't until I got into the other studios where the competitiveness really was a thing. It was a competitive environment with students wanting certain teachers availability, more wanting the trophies and the number one spots and stuff like that. So I didn't have the same experience when it came to we were all teammates, but it was very much like I went to school with some of the girls that I danced with, and it was very much that like we're a group at dance, but they have their own friends in school. So I didn't have the same
Ah,
experience of
okay.
like building those type of relationships. But you still do talk to a lot of them that you grew up with?
Yeah, my 2, I would say, best friends from growing up that I danced with, they both live in New York City. One of them was a New York City or, a Knicks dancer,
Oh, who?
and
What's her name?
Julia Evans.
So a girl that I grew up with was one of the really nice girls that I danced with, Latoya Brooks. She also was a Nick City dancer.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they danced together. Yes,
I'm
they
sure they
they
did.
definitely know each other. That name
Did you
rings a
guys
bell.
both go to New Hartford High School? You're both.
No, I went to Notre Dame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where Brandy's
Yeah,
kids go is Notre
Yep.
Dame. Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
good
Sorry. I was
times.
just like, oh my God, have you seen each other? Have you
But
like
that's what I'm saying. It's the correlation
So small.
between the circle that we ran in, but they never crossed. That's like I'm kind of like I'm almost trying to find like, did we ever cross? Did we ever
We
like in the
definitely
same
have
room?
been at the same we've definitely been at the same dance competitions or
You have to
something
have
at the
been.
same time.
do you know who her brother is? Did you listen to a lot of radio when you were younger? Like rock
Who's your
stations?
brother?
Rain Man from K Rock.
I listened to K-Rock.
Yeah. Rain Man's our brother. Yeah. But hold on, we'll
Wow,
get there.
that's
We'll get
so
there. Like how to
weird.
like
It's getting fun.
it's
It's getting
getting
fun.
it's getting close.
The
It's getting
ecosystem is getting smaller and smaller right before our
Mhm.
eyes.
Yeah. So okay, so you still talk to her. She's one of your best friends. And is there like another girl that you guys still talk or
Yeah, and Carly Rollins, she also lives in New York City. So anytime the 2 of them, like, come home for Thanksgiving or something, we'll try to, find time to get lunch or grab coffee or whatever, and
yeah.
yeah, and it's so funny because then my sister and their sisters were in the same dance group, and the 3 of them still hang out. So it was
Okay.
really weird. It was like all of our parents had daughters at the exact same time. So, like, the younger sisters would hang out and the older sisters would hang out, and then when we
Mhm.
got older, then all of us are hanging out, and it's just like this really interesting group of people.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I love that I mean, again, you started competition at 6. That's so young. Did you fall in, now that you look at it, like you're out of it for a while, did you get into dance because you loved dance, or did you get in dance because you wanted to follow your sister, you wanted to be with your mom all the time? Like, how did you get into dance? And then how did your relationship with dance kind of grow or get tested like throughout the years?
Yeah, I definitely loved it because my parents were really good about throwing me and exposing me to all different sports. Like I swam, I played basketball, I golfed, I played soccer for a very, very short summer until I realized how much running was involved. So I was
Mhm.
able to really get a taste of everything. And it wasn't until what was it? Maybe my freshman or sophomore year of high school, I was really competitive with basketball and I was really competitive with dance, but it came to the point where I had to choose one of them because the schedules just conflicted. And I remember like crying on the couch to my parents, and they both were like, "We don't want to pressure you either way, like whatever you want." And it was like the hardest decision of my life. I ultimately chose dance,
Mhm.
and then I competed with dance through college. And again, some of the best friendships that I have were from the girls that I danced in college with. I've been in all of their weddings. We try to plan a trip at least once a year together.
You went to Sacred
And
Heart, right?
yeah.
So sorry, Connecticut. I forget. Is it Connecticut?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Fairfield, Connecticut. Yep.
I
And
was
then
recruited by Fairfield for basketball.
oh, the
So
Stags.
yeah,
Nice. We
That's
were
great.
rivals, but I still like you guys.
I I ultimately ended up going to Massachusetts. I went to
Oh,
Northeastern University, but yeah, I was recruited. I went on one of my trips to visit a college was Fairfield.
oh, how fun. Wow, another small world that ties us all back
Yeah,
together.
it's
Yep.
crazy. New
Yep.
York, baby, New York.
Yeah.
I know. It's like we're all interconnected somehow and everybody knows somebody who knows somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, okay, so then you went away to college and you competed in
Mhm.
college, you said, yeah.
Yeah, and then when I graduated from college, I immediately moved to a really, really small town in Illinois for a local television job. And I taught at a dance studio there for a couple of months before then I ended up moving somewhere else for another local TV job. And when I lived in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think I it was either like 2 or 3 years that I was teaching at a dance studio. And ultimately I stopped doing it because I was working an overnight shift. So I would work from 2:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. and then I would teach dance from like 7 to 9 at night. So eventually it was just like not conducive to sleep
Couldn't do it.
and being a
Yeah.
human. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
ultimately why I stopped, which was a bummer because I mean, still to this day, I really have a passion for dance. But as that was kind of coming to an end, that's when I found CrossFit and was getting heavily involved with that and the whole fitness side of things. So then when I would come back home to visit family, my mom would have me do like a fitness workshop with the girls and like different stretching and mobility and like abs and push-ups and all that kind of stuff. So that
Kind
was
of
kind of fun.
merging the 2 worlds together. I did that too. I became a dance teacher. I was an assistant first and then became a dance teacher when I was 16 and then was a competitive dance teacher by the time I was 18. And so I followed that for a
Mhm.
long time. And then I moved down here, took a little bit of a break, just moving, transitioning. Oh, Bruce Wayne says hi.
Yeah, let me just
Hello, Bruce.
tell Lauren I said hi. Rambler, love y'all saying hi. Hi Judy. Hi Jody.
Hi,
Thank you guys
guys.
for hanging out. Jeffrey Birchfield, Lauren, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Thank you. We're having a good time already.
And seeing how many different times we crossed over on the same the same path.
Sorry, I don't
Yeah,
want you to
the
lose your
layers.
Yep.
did y'all run around Varick Street?
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
go there.
oh.
Oh,
Come
Yes,
on.
but not as Lauren Kalil, as my cousin Caitlin Nepka. Until
Oh.
okay, here's a good story. Here's a good story. So I mean, this is a place where you go where you're not going to be ID'd. You're just not. And if you are, then it's because they recently got raided or something.
Yes.
And my sister had gotten a second ID from our older cousin, who, mind you, looks nothing like us at all. Like, you would not think that we're from the same bloodline at all. And I take this ID from my sister, who is my cousin's. My cousin does not know that I have it. I use it to get in. She ends up showing up at the same bar. She now cannot get in because a Caitlin Nepka is already there.
That's awesome.
And my phone
the
is
whole
just
night.
blowing up. And I've had way too many drinks and I'm just ignoring the text messages like, oh, nothing I can do
You're like,
now.
sorry, girl. I got here first. You should have gotten here first to use your own identity.
And then me and my sister would go, and my parents, God bless them, would give us money to get a cab. This was before Uber. And then we would end up using that money to spend on drinks and still calling our parents at bar close. Mom, Dad, we need a ride. Can you please pick us up? What happened to the money? Oh, like we bought a round of drinks for our friends.
Yeah. But they still did it all the time too.
Every time.
But
and they would stop at McDonald's on the way home to help us.
Everybody stopped at. Tell me, what street is that McDonald's on it?
What street?
It's the one. Oh,
Genesee?
it's the one that. No, it wasn't that one. It was as you head like through New Hartford and on your way to Clinton. It's like on the way to the mall. And there's like a McDonald's, there's a Wendy's.
She's going the other ways. Yep. We would go to the
but
one.
But McDonald's would be the only one that was open.
Fire. Yep.
We would go to Mohawk Street McDonald's.
Oh, that's
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our McDonald's because
also a great one.
Yeah, we would stay. We'd go to the bars and we'd stay out.
They're so nice too for being up at like 2 in the morning. They were so nice.
I mean, and they dealt with everybody. There were times that we would go and people are just standing outside the windows and we're like, okay, you need to move because we need to get our food. So get out of the way. Yeah, that was Dark Street. Did you ever go to Cavallo's?
Did you ever wing nights?
Yes.
Tuesday wing nights. Yes. I would dress to the nines. Like I thought I was in Las Vegas because this would be the big night out. Oh, I'm going to see my crush. Oh, maybe I'm going to see this person there. And me and my dance friends would go. We would order the 10-cent wings or whatever they were. We would get the cheese fries. Oh my God. Yep. Why were they so good at such a young age? I don't know.
Who was the DJ was like Gary, what's his face?
Big Papa.
Big Papa, yeah.
Oh my God. I haven't talked about this stuff, I think, ever.
Yeah. Did you ever work in media in Central New York or no?
So I had an internship at WKTV my senior year of high school. But yeah, that was it. I never actually had a job in media in CNY until Syracuse.
You talked about you and your sister kind of fighting over who was going to run the dance studio. Like it was going to be mine. It was going to be mine. It was going to be mine. So growing up and kind of feeling like the studio was going to be your place, when and how did you find media and fall in love with media? And then how did that take you to where you are today?
So it's funny because I think I always had the media bug in me. My mom will always remind me of, every year we would go to New York City to see Broadway shows, like multiple times during the year. And a lot of the times we would go with our dance studio and they would sell tickets and we would get one of the big, like Greyhound buses, and it would be a really cool, fun experience. And every time we would go, I'd make her bring me to the NBC studios and I would go in front of the green screen and I would pretend that I'm like giving a newscast or doing the weather. And then we would wake up early the next morning to go outside and watch the Today Show. And I have pictures with, Katie Couric and Savannah Guthrie and Hoda Kotb and all of the cast. And it had always been this interest where then in high school, I did this program through BOCES where you could kind of pick a major almost like college. And I picked journalism or media or something along those lines. And then they set you up with these internships. And that's why I interned at WKTV. And I thought, oh, this is like something I really enjoy. I loved storytelling. I always loved asking questions. I loved making at-home movies. Like I go back to, I mean, even when I was maybe 8 years old, me and my cousins would make movies with Barbie dolls. I know that sounds really weird, but we
Yeah.
would we would use the camcorder and they would all have parts and we would record it and then we would edit it and all of this little corny stuff. And we would do dance performances in front of the camera and I would talk on camera and introduce that here is your next athlete to the stage or dancer to the stage, Kate Lenepka. And everybody would cheer. And it was
awesome.
Jeffrey, you
just
beat
have
me to this, but I was going to ask you, was it always sportscasting? Was there ever investigative journalism that you wanted? Was there, which one was it? Like, was sportscasting was always your thing? ESPN?
So I think mostly it was ESPN. I loved watching Aaron Andrews' sideline report. I loved, oh my God, like what an inspiration. And just
It was
seeing her
annoying
be a
on Dancing with
baddie
the
out there.
Stars for me, but she was fire on sideline. I couldn't take. I tried. I really tried on Dancing with the Stars, but she was fire on ESPN.
But it was interesting because I would watch her on the sideline, but then I would always see the guys up in the booth and think to myself, why isn't she in the booth? Why are there no women doing play-by-play or very rarely as color analysts? Like that's the job that I want. So that's when that vision kind of started. It was seeing Erin Andrews being one of the only female out on the floor amongst all of these men. But then I thought, well, let's think a step higher. What about this job? Is that possible? And so kind of through the whole journey, then I did think, maybe news. I really just enjoy storytelling. I enjoy talking to people, learning their stories. And then it was, I mean, I'm a huge crime junkie fan. So then I thought, you know what, maybe I'll be a crime reporter and I'll go to court and listen to that. Let me tell you, you get put on a report of going to court for one day and you listen to these lawyers and you're sitting there because a lot of the time you can't bring your cameras in, you can't bring your phones in. So I have my little notepad and I'm writing down all these words of lawyer talk that I don't understand. So I can call my sister who's a lawyer and ask her afterwards, and you're trying to follow what's going on. And in your head, you're like, oh, I'm going to be on this really big, intense murder case. No, you're on like traffic court and stuff that's so boring. So that dream was like a dream for maybe 2 days. And then it went back to sports, and then I applied for jobs in sports and they just weren't open. So I would shoot Friday night highlights for high school football, and I would shoot high school basketball and do all of these things to help the sports department to prove that, hey, I can do this. When there's a job opening, call me up. And I never got called up, which was fine. I just kind of kept moving to these other field reporter and anchor gigs, but always had that passion for sports. And it really wasn't until
no, go ahead, go finish. Sorry.
No, it wasn't until I then had a job in Green Bay, Wisconsin that, I mean, whether you're in news or sports, you're going to cover sports because you're with an NFL team. So that is kind of the moment that I realized I much rather be in the sports department than the news department.
So you liked every sport though. It wasn't like, hey, I just love CrossFit, I want to go cover CrossFit. You liked every sport. Obviously, if you were in Green Bay, you were doing football.
Yeah. So to me, it was, I've always had a passion for sports, but I never know enough of the data and history to feel confident being on a broadcast for that sport, if that makes sense. Like I'm a sports fan, but I'm not in the weeds. Until then I found CrossFit and I'm like, oh my God, these athletes are so interesting. Let me deep dive. I want to learn the history. I want to learn everything. And then I'm kind of lucky in the sense that I've been able to somewhat grow up with the sport. I mean, I started in 2016, so not right at the beginning, but I didn't need to go back that far.
I was going to say, you didn't have to go back 50 to 100 years to figure it out.
Exactly.
Right. Sure.
Because it was pretty new. Like, I mean, for us,
what was it, like 2008, basically 2007?
Was the first CrossFit Games.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Right.
It's
Perfect.
still young.
Like, and
Yeah.
there's only one,
Exactly.
there's pretty much like only 3 male champions at that point. And like, you know what I mean?
Getting yourself caught up, it didn't take that long.
Yeah, for sure.
So where did you find your love for CrossFit?
When I was living in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I was exposed to CrossFit a little bit before that because my dad is what really got me involved. He was doing CrossFit and he walked onto the beach at a family vacation with his shirt off and had this lovely beach body. And I look at my sister, I'm like, why does our 50 something year old dad look better than us? This is not cool. What is he doing? I need to start doing that. And then he took me to his CrossFit gym and he was like teasing me in a way saying, "Oh, we're doing a team competition, but you're not good enough yet to be on the team. So you got to work a little harder." And I was like, okay, challenge accepted. And
Right.
then my first like 2 months of CrossFit, I signed up for a competition in the scale division. And I'll never forget asking one of my coaches, "Hey, I know that like pull-ups is one of the standards, but I don't have those yet. So can I use a band?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, but none of the reps are going to count." So I'm on the competition floor and super stubborn and okay, fine. I'm not going to use a band. I'm just going to try to get my first pull up at this competition. And I ended up getting 2. So that moment was really cool for me. And then I drank the Kool-Aid and the rest is history.
Who puts the camera in your hands? Like who I've started to become a bit of a camera junkie. So the, you know, the Sony A7 or the microphone that attaches to the camera or the editing, like who puts the camera in your hand and is like, "Hey, go down to the sideline, just talk to everybody." Or is that you on your own? Did you just figure it out? Holler.
That's me. I am lucky in the sense that, and I don't really like the word luck because I don't really believe in luck. I believe in, you know, everybody has a journey on how they get somewhere. But my television background, as much as I hated a lot of it in the moment, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say bitterness because I don't feel bitter anymore, but there were a lot of things that I just don't agree with in local news and you know some of the opportunities that weren't really the best in the moment. They at least set me up for having such a successful career now because of all of the skills that I gained. I knew how to operate a camera, I knew how to edit, I knew how to go up to people that I've never met before and ask questions, and if they ignore me, I've been ignored hundreds of times at this point, so you kind of just shoot your shot.
That's crazy. That I was just talking about that with Pedro on another show, and it was just like, how did you get up the nerve to send out all these like requests to these athletes that are crazy? And he said basically the same thing. Like you gotta go shoot your shot. If they say no, they say no. That's the worst thing that could happen if they don't see it. Like that was really fire that you found that quickly. Like, hey, I've been ignored. Cool, whatever. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, at that point, I had doors slammed in my face. I'd had, you know, people throw change at me. I'd had people curse me out about wanting to do interviews. So it's the worst. An athlete's not going to answer my DM. I think we're going to be okay.
Okay, so the worst isn't they could just say no. I just learned that right now. There's other worse things. I'm never sending another DM ever again.
No.
No. You got to remember, I worked in local television when, what's the abbreviation? Because I don't want to say it. It would be FHITP.
Sure, I'll look that up later. But I know what you're doing.
So the F word,
Yep.
her, in the So that was people would get behind my live shots, like while I'm live on camera, and they would just yell it. They would just yell it. And it, for whatever reason, it was some thing that was trendy and funny, and people would just be so obnoxious and do that, or people would run behind your live shots and try to like push you out of the way. And like people are so strange, so strange. So the things that they did in local television, I'm like, oh, whatever. I basically have a shell of armor on from that.
switching over to YouTube is way easier. You're just like, whatever, it's YouTube. You like,
You're safe.
Oh, yeah. I'm in a controlled environment here.
Mhm, mm. How do you keep going with all of that, with all the door slams, with all the no's, with that kind of stuff? Like, how do you keep going?
I have been told no a lot in my life, but and it might not seem that externally because of course on Instagram and on the internet we post our successes. We post the things that are going right. We don't post emails of all the people who have ghosted me or people who have said no, we're not interested, but it's one of those things that I think that everybody has a purpose and you can kind of feel it in your heart and you can feel it in your gut when you know that you're on the journey that's right for you. It feels right. I can't explain it in any other way, but it's just this feeling that you know you're doing the right thing and eventually somebody is going to say yes, and when they do, that's the opportunity that I should have been waiting for. These other ones that have said no, those opportunities weren't meant for me, and that's fine. Or maybe the timing was wrong, and that's an opportunity that's meant for me when I'm a little bit more seasoned or when I'm ready for the
right,
opportunity.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
timing has a huge part in it. So it's just knowing in my gut that I'm on the right path, but on the path there's going to be lions and tigers and speed bumps and flat tires and all of the chaos.
Mhm.
Going to that, going from like, I remember you saying in an interview once that the TV studios like they gave you some crap about maybe like you look too muscular or your haircut or your or whatever those stipulations were. I was just curious, coming from there and coming to YouTube with the sponsors that like social media has, is there a difference? Is it way easier? Are there stipulations? Do you have like, and by stipulations I mean how you dress or the amount of makeup I don't mean how many posts that you put up
Mhm.
per. I just mean as a woman, are there stipulations on the sponsors from YouTube and Instagram and whatever social media as compared to like, hey, your arms can't get bigger than 9 inches when you're
Or
on,
like this
yeah,
big.
like on television sort of thing.
It's no, no. Working in this ecosystem is it's not perfect, that's for sure, but it's much better. I mean, I even think of some of the anchors that I worked with and just listening to the conversations that they would have because there's this certain image of what a news anchor is supposed to look like. Your hair is supposed to be cut to here because if you can't see the end of your hair, the viewer apparently doesn't understand that like your hair eventually stops. It's a weird illusion. Yeah, you got I got to find an old contract and publish it somewhere. It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, fine.
So you're supposed to have like this short hair that everybody can see. You're supposed to wear jewel tone colors because that makes you look the most feminine. You can't have your body weight fluctuate within 10 pounds, bigger, smaller. Um, and all of these women think that they have to be these stick figures because they have these consultants that would come in, every like 4 to 6 months and they would sit down with you and they would be brutally honest and, "Ooh, your neck looks a little big in that shirt. Your arms don't look great if they're not covered. I think you'll be able to work for the network if you lose 25 pounds." Like they would be brutally honest on what the industry is looking for. And I know women who were heavier set that would leave the business because they're like, I've reached my ceiling because of my weight. It doesn't matter how good my voice is. It doesn't matter how much research I do. It doesn't matter how great of a journalist I am. All that they care about is the external what people are
Yeah.
seeing on their screen. And what I had watched too, which was super fascinating, is men were not held to the same standard. I can't tell you how many men who were overweight got these crazy great jobs,
Oh,
but
sure.
women, unless you were 120 pounds and 5'7", you were not getting that same job. It's
Mm.
insane. So I'm happy to now work in an environment where muscular bodies and like
It's literally
thick
just how many
fit and all of that is
just how many clicks
accepted.
and views you can get. I mean, that's pretty much what I see is like if there's clicks and views, and that's probably the main source of what they want when they're like, "Hey, can I sponsor you or can I get behind you?" Is that's pretty much that's the
Yeah,
difference?
what is so for the CrossFit space or the fitness space in general or content creation, I suppose we could even call it. It's more like what is your reach? What is your involvement in the space? Um, are you a trusted source or do we feel like you're a trusted source? Is the content you're creating organic? Does it feel like it's relatable to the viewer? Where it is more individualized, where with television, everything was super cookie cutter, like to the T. Seriously, go online and Google image news anchor and just put the images
Yeah,
side
they
by
are.
side.
Sure.
Everybody looks the same. And to
Yeah.
me, I was like, I don't want to have short hair. I don't want to have thin arms. This is how I want to look. And I had a news anchor say to me that I didn't get a job because I wasn't relatable to the viewer because I was fit, because I was unmarried, and because I didn't have kids. So I'm not relatable to the people I'm selling the news to. Like,
Yes,
what a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah.
that's crazy that you even have to sell the news. People should just like you just want to know the news because you want to know what's happening. I got to sell it to you.
Right.
Don't you just want to know what's happening in the world today? Like that's crazy to
Mhm.
me.
Mhm.
Like
Good times.
I don't read the post so I can look at the picture of who wrote the article and be like, "Oh, he looks like me. I should read this article right now." Like I just,
Right.
what's the headline? I'm reading like what's going on? It's that's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
coming from the dance world, and especially
Mm.
the competitive dance world, which again sounds very similar to the news world. Well, how do you look? What's your body look like? How small are you? Can you fit in this? Can you look a certain way? And then you get into the news and you experience the same thing. And then you find CrossFit and you find your love for CrossFit. And just looking at your social media, you're like me, you're like my what? You like to lift heavy. You like to move some heavy weights.
Hell yeah.
And so we get our I mean,
I wasn't built for
for cardio.
30 minutes worth of
Oh,
nope. I am
I want
6
nothing to
foot
do with that.
I am 6 foot 188. I have fast twitch muscles.
I
I
want to lift some heavy ass
short
weight.
listen, 2 to 8 minutes. That's what I got.
Yep.
And
Yes, that's a sweet spot.
And so with obviously doing CrossFit, your body changes and you see the way that your body changes. And now being in such a public eye with CrossFit growing, and now the magnifying glass is on women, even more so than not, because it's fitness.
Mhm.
So you kind of experience this whole image focused obsession with women across so many areas. Why do you feel like your voice and your presence is important in the CrossFit world as a woman that likes to move heavyweight, as a woman that shows herself in exactly who you are? How do you feel like that's important for who you are, where you are, and when it comes to your media coverage and voice in CrossFit?
We have to break the stereotype, and I feel like easier said than done, but it starts with us. I even think of my mom who owns a dance studio, and this is not a slam at her. It's just an example, and I have a point. But she had a dancer who had started doing CrossFit. And she had said to me one day, "Oh, like, I really wish she would stop doing CrossFit. She's getting too muscular. That doesn't look great in these costumes." And I look at my mom, and excuse me, but I was like, "Mom, what the F?
No,
Like,
you can swear. You can swear with
Mom,
us.
what the
no,
fuck?
go, yeah, fine.
Like, what are you saying?" And she was like, "I'm not saying it because that's how I feel, but I know how the judges who score the dancers are going to perceive this."
Yes.
And I'm like, but it starts with us. Like, we can't What are you going to do? Go tell this dancer to stop doing CrossFit, which is something she loves, and it's keeping her healthy and it's making her a stronger dancer, because
Yes.
now look at all the power she has in her leaps and her turns and the endurance she has
I wish I
during
had
her
CrossFit.
dances.
I wish I had
Oh
CrossFit
my
growing up as a
God.
dancer. Can you imagine as a dancer having
We
CrossFit
would have been so good.
Ooh, we would have been able to literally jump as high as the boys, okay?
I know. Our calf and quad muscles would have been
Would have been
wild.
huge, yeah. Yep, yep.
And it's like, what a twisted way of thinking, but it just goes to show that even though we're trying to like have these open voices to show that we're confident in our bodies, and strong women are just as great of women as ones that are small, there's still an abnormality of, well, where does a strong body fit? Can a strong body be a dancer? Can it be a figure skater? Can it be a gymnast that maybe is a little extra muscular than her opponent? And I just feel like it's not just my duty, but anybody who has a voice and has an opinion and has some kind of platform to say, hey, it's okay to be a woman with muscles. It's okay to also not have a six pack and feel confident and wear shorts if you have a little bit of cellulite. Do I love how the back of my legs look like in shorts? No, I would be lying if I said, yeah, look, I feel like they look so good today. But they're comfortable for me and I'm confident in them. And that's
Mhm.
okay. They don't need to look like everybody else's to feel confident in certain outfits. It was a huge, like, mental and emotional roller coaster that I had to take from growing up in these environments where I was told to be thinner, lose weight, like don't put dressing on your salads, like fast food is bad for you, and and I mean, yeah, fast food in moderation, but sometimes I like to
Yeah,
have
no,
chicken
it's
nuggets.
definitely
Like,
yeah, like, you
I
can have a
mean,
chicken.
Yeah.
a chicken nugget is not gonna kill me. Every
Exactly.
day, absolutely, maybe.
Yeah.
Since we're going down this path, I'm curious, was there ever a point in time, like, in your teens, I forget when it actually, like, social media era started, but were your teens, was it did you have social media the entire time, or did social media come around the time that you were, like, in high school? When was, like, the smartphone where you could take a risky picture, possibly get in trouble because you sent it to a boy, and I promise there's a point here, but did you ever di like, did you ever did you have it all through your teens? I didn't. I I was about probably 26 or 7 when that was even possible to do.
So, I had MySpace was the first exposure, and then my parents wouldn't let me have a phone until 8th or ninth grade, and I remember it was a flip phone. It was the chocolate, or the one
Yep,
that slid.
slid.
The chocolate.
Yep, yep,
Yep.
for
I
sure.
don't think there was a camera on that, but I do remember in high
Oh, no.
school
There was. I got in trouble
there
with a
was?
girlfriend for that. Yeah, I had some pictures on my phone that my girlfriend found that was not it was not cute. But so, yeah,
Okay.
that was it. That was the
So that
start.
was around, I know that Snapchat was around in high school because a girl I was friends with sent a boy a picture in a
Mhm.
bikini, not lingerie, just a bathing suit, and he was a dick and screenshotted it and sent it around the whole school. And because I went to a small Catholic school, then there was an assembly with all the boys, just the boys, to talk about said picture. This poor
Mhm.
girl, this
Okay,
poor
so you
girl.
were actually in high school when this started for you, and Colleen was too.
Mhm.
And so I feel like for these young girls now that are, because we see kind of a little bit of this mass exodus, right? Where these girls are the pressure that these girls are feeling in CrossFit, and they're leaving and they're going to do things that are mentally like better for them to go do. And I kind of with you on wanted to explore, I think, the difference in pressures and the difference in the social media space that there is between the boys that age group of like 16 to 24 and the girls that age group of 16 to 24. Um, Because boys, like, they're trying to win at all of them are trying to win the CrossFit Games, right? But
Mhm.
the boys, there's a reason why 18-year-old boys can't go from high school football to the NFL, and it's because their body hasn't matured all the way yet. If they get hit by a 28-year-old, 6'5", 200, like, full man muscles,
Yep.
like, sorry, buddy, but your little 18-year-old body isn't gonna you haven't had enough protein yet. You know what I mean? For for women, we pretty much have our bodies pretty much have matured by the time we are 17, 18 years old. Like, yeah, we could pack
Mhm.
on some more muscle, but at 15, we have the capability of growing a full human being in our bodies. So, like, our hormones are there. We're good. We've matured, kind of thing, right? So, like, when Mal O'Brien and Haley Adams and all these kids, they're thrown in with the women immediately, and they're fighting for a top 5 spot. The boys, I don't think, expect to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
No, because it's just not happening.
it's
I mean, the
different.
women or girls, they are girls are qualifying for the individual division, the elites. I mean, some of them have women that are my age and older. I cannot imagine competing against a teen and being held to the same standard with sponsorship, with social media, with the people who comment behind social media. If I was in the position that like I would be, I'm not kidding you, I would probably have had to been put into a psychiatric ward because
Yeah.
and I've gone through my own mental health struggles, and I didn't deal with an ounce of what the pressure is that these girls are dealing with. And the way that it's just so easy for somebody to comment negativity, that I remember in high school just being bullied over MySpace or being bullied through telephone, and you'd hear somebody made like a nasty comment about you. And then, it's kind of over at that point. It's like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
but you
like,
don't
no.
need to go back
Yeah, it's not
and
there
re-see it.
forever.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting in bed at night and looking at all of the comments on my phone, and it's people just tearing my work ethic, my personality, my body image apart, oh my God. I cannot even wrap my head around how that would have felt at 16, 17, 18, even like 26 years old. Like,
'Cause I
But
mean,
it's
even
terrible.
even as adults, we feel
yeah,
that. Even
Yeah.
as adults, there's certain things that are said, and you're like, "Ooh, okay, that one hit." It didn't, and it doesn't matter who it's from, it's what they say. So, it's like if that hurt me as an adult, it's going to shatter these
a
babies because
17-year-old
they're
girl. And
babies.
women's bodies at that age are fully formed. There are girls that are
Mhm.
17, 18, 19 that can get into a bar with an ID because
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
we look the way that we're going to look. Our body is already the way that our body is going to be by that age.
Mhm.
So, and it's everybody for us. Like, if dudes want to comment on women's things, they will, and they have no problem with it. But also, now you have a bunch of women who are probably jealous of you because you have a six pack, because you're pulling in the dudes that they want to pull in, because you're
Mhm.
winning things. And women, we're petty. Like, we can be petty if you feel slighted. We get petty, and they're
Especially
quick
at that age.
and they're
Like,
quick to jump in and be like, "Oh, she's this, she's butch, she's whatever, and blah blah blah." So it's not even like dudes don't do that. Dudes aren't rolling on to, like, each other's pages and be like, "Oh, your butt saggy." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
they're not doing that to each other. So just the difference, I think, for like that Dallin, that age group of like Sprague and
Mhm.
whatever, it is a very different pressure than for like the Mallory, the Mal, the Haley Adams,
Emma
yeah,
was the other
Emma
one too.
Carey, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously you've covered a lot, you've talked to a lot of athletes. Have you felt the difference in interviews? Do you prepare your interviews different when you talk to the girls versus talking to the boys? Like, how do you what's the energy like when you do these interviews with the younger kids and then the adults?
Well, I think it's important to remember that these are kids, and the other ones are adults. And even when I think of, something that I really try to do in this space is, yes, sports are great and sports are fun and they should be lighthearted, but there also is what I would call like an underbelly of deeper topics that need to be explored. And sometimes there are tougher questions that I want to ask Mal or Haley, especially because they have been through the ringer and they could add really good perspective. But thinking on how do I ask these questions while balancing the fact that they are still kids. They
Yeah.
are
Yep.
still very young and they are still going through it. I don't care if it
Sure.
was a year since they walked away. You don't just snap your fingers and do the work too, but like a year stepping away from the sport and coming back after all of that, you're not just healed. You're
I'm
still
healed, yeah.
dealing with wounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's honestly a lifelong journey for most people. So I think it's just being able to have more grace and having relatability and asking a question, but then letting them take the lead, having a moment to pause and see if they organically dig into whatever they want to talk to. Or like one of the things that I think my TV background is I've spent a lot of time getting to know like body language even if you're not in person and the way that people frame their answers. I spend a lot of time listening and taking their feedback on how I'm then going to transition the interview. And I'm not perfect. It's something that you're
It's
crafting and
crazy.
learning forever,
No,
but
it's crazy. We don't go back more than like 3 months of our podcast because if you do, we suck. Like,
We learned.
yeah,
We learned.
it's
yeah,
not
you learn a lot the more you do it.
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Mhm.
Like, so I get it.
But
But
do you prepare differently for the girls than you do with the guys? Have you felt, I mean, being so good at being able to kind of read, do you have like a general question of like, okay, I would love to talk about this. How do I think I'm going to get a response where I could potentially get there or start to get closer to the actual, like you said, like the hard questions, the deeper questions, the more information, the more insight, because it can help so much for other young athletes that are coming up.
Yeah, I don't normally prepare differently, but well, sometimes. I'll sometimes reach out to manage. Well, a lot of the time when I'm setting these up, I will reach out to their manager or their coach to set it up. I try not to go directly to the athlete, just knowing that they've got a lot on their plate and there's a reason why they have managers and coaches. Let me first go through them, and if they then direct me to the athlete, I'll do it that way.
Mhm.
But when I'm dealing with a teen athlete, I'll kind of pick the brain of the agent or the manager at first. Hey, these are some of the topics I'm thinking about asking your athlete. What do you think the response is going to be? Is there anything I should stay away from? And then they'll kind of give me their feedback. And I'll always start before we start recording the interview with, hey, these are the topics I'm looking to cover. If it's, I mean, I don't always do that, but if it's going to be something that might hit a chord or be a little bit more sensitive, I like to prepare them.
Mhm.
Is there anything you don't feel comfortable talking about?
Mhm.
yeah,
And most of the time, the athletes are actually pretty open and they're like, no, whatever you ask, like, is going to be fine. But if they were to say no, then I would put that on my notes. Okay, don't follow up with this. You don't want to catch them off guard. You don't want to back them into the hole. I'm not an I gotcha reporter. That's a
yeah.
big reason why I got out of local TV, because I don't have the stomach for that, and I just don't want to.
I that brings me to another question. Do you ever think it's weird that kids that age, they have agents? You're not going through their parents. Their parents aren't the people that you're talking to. Because like we have a 7-year-old son. I'm just thinking about him as he gets older, and there's no way I would want a third party in between, like, go for people on the internet. So like they probably know you. You're Lauren Kalil, right? Like people know you. So these kids do know you. But it's, I guess, just to have somebody else filter out who's going to talk to my kid about what at that age feels a little weird to me. Is that
Well,
ever
that's because you're a good parent. Unfortunately, kids in the spotlight that have fame or can be monetized off of their parents. They might feel like they have their kids' best interest, but they don't always. And that's unfortunate that sometimes the agent actually makes it better for the kid.
Mm. So
Yeah.
it is
But
like,
it is a little bit weird though. Like when you think of it on a surface level, it's like, oh, well, can't the parent make the best decision for the kid? But
But it's almost
sometimes
like
the
they're not,
limelight.
so the agent is making the bet.
in certain
That's tough.
situations,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can okay.
It's like a
Not all the time, but sometimes the agent actually works as a buffer to help put the kid's best
Interesting.
needs first, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's tough. I can't ever seeing not at that age. I mean, later, sure, fine. If you're doing golf or whatever and you have a manager, fine, whatever. But
Mhm.
at like 16, 17, like before you're out of my house and paying your own bills, like I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing too. I feel a little bit weird when these kids have these sponsorship obligations because it's also I try to think of my first job at 16 and I was a lifeguard, which basically meant I was going to sit by the pool every summer. I was going to watch kids on noodles and then
Right.
I was going to sit on a table and make friendship bracelets while somebody else
Oh,
was on
friendship
duty.
bracelet. I
Yes.
love those.
The
Yeah.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
And
cool.
you walk
And
out with like your entire wrist
oh,
full of 'em,
yes. And then
and
the
then you
tan lines at the end of summer. Oh my God.
I mean, I never got tan lines, but I
Oh
would
yeah,
get
my
burned.
poor wife.
But then you have that one friend where if you put them all back on and you forget that one friend that
Oh,
knows
yeah.
that you forgot that. What do you mean we're not friends? Oh, I just
Oh my
forgot
don't
it.
god, that
remember.
was like the end of your
That
life.
was it.
If
That
yeah.
was it. You can't be forgetting my friendship bracelet that I made for you yesterday.
No, no. So I think it's because I get it. It's good that they're making money and it's helps setting them up for the future. But
Sure.
sometimes I do kind of toy with this. Like, should we be setting them up with sponsors so young and having these work obligations that they have social media deliverables or content deliverables or, sometimes a sponsor will tie like a bonus with if you place this at a competition and it's like
Uh,
they're like not even an adult yet. That's a lot of pressure. So that kind of makes me feel some kind of way. I get the other side of it, but just from like you're still a child standpoint, I don't know.
Yeah, and I almost wonder if that's why this question of like, do we keep them kids? Do we let them have their own time that stay in their own age until a certain point to join everybody? Because then you do. When you get into the adult sport, and especially in CrossFit, you're a teen until you qualify for the elite. That's pretty much how it goes. And then when you're an elite, then all of a sudden you're in the adult sport. So when you're in the adult sport, comes the adult responsibilities. And as we were talking about, not every adult can handle those responsibilities. So then you're throwing kids in there and the pressure and all of this type of stuff. You almost
and you can see it in real sports too, right? Like you got Ja Morant. You give this kid a $60 million a year contract and whatever, and he's on social media playing with guns and whatnot. I mean, I never, no, Kevin Garnett was good. But like you got like Plaxico Burrett, like you know what I'm saying? Like these kids coming out of high school that are going straight to the pros, they're getting millions of freaking dollars. And now they're, in the media for every bad thing you could possibly be in the media for. And that's it's in sports, it's in like acting, it's in so I'm kind of with you too. Like I don't know what the answer is, but the question has to be asked because obviously, it takes a toll on a lot of these kids.
Mhm.
Well, and these sports are expensive. So I understand that if you have a sponsor, a lot of the time they'll pay for your travel and your accommodations. And at the end of the day, it's probably your parents that are going to end up forking over that bill if you don't have these sponsors. So I get it allows these kids to compete in a sport that they love and maybe actually have a future with. So it's just how can we protect them more? That's all I want to do. And I think that the Pit Teen Throwdown is doing a really good job with that and making it feel like a really professional setting to host the teen CrossFit Games this year, but with the pressure lower because they're giving so many additional resources. And I know that people from the PFAA are working with them and just trying to make it feel more like, okay, this is professional, but like the stakes aren't that high. You can still be a kid and you can still compete here and have fun, but it's not the totally like
Yeah.
crazy stakes.
And
Mhm.
is it streamed the way that the CrossFit Games was? Is it gonna be streamed on YouTube the way that, like, the teen competition was
I
put up
think
on?
they'll have a live stream, but it's not going to be at the
Yeah, it won't.
extent that like the
Right.
elites and teams will have. Yeah.
Oh,
Are
that's
you going? You gonna be there?
I should be going.
So for
Yes.
someone in the media, do you feel like separating is good? Or do you feel like having them all at the CrossFit Games from a media standpoint was better?
Oh, this is way better because I never ever would have had the opportunity to cover any of the teens. There's
Mhm.
just too much happening at once. I mean, I would be lucky if I even saw one team event at the CrossFit Games.
Oh,
Just
wow.
the way that the schedules are and like who's in this venue, who's at that venue, and how can I story tell this if I'm going to miss this event to go watch this other event? It gets crazy that I think the way that the games are this year with everybody having their own is the best way for storytelling, but it's just whether the events and CrossFit want to invest in media for storytelling.
Mm.
So, do they push your content when you do all this and you do the content for the teens and you do the content for, for anything at the games at all? Do they ever, like, push your content or use your content as, you know
Marketing or
yeah,
anything?
thank you, marketing, that was the word.
Unless you're hired by CrossFit, no.
Oh,
So all of your coverage is for
for
you.
you.
Is literally for you.
Yeah, for me, and if I go, I'm sure the Pit Teen games, like
We'll use
those
it.
folks will share it. Yeah, I'm doing some like a YouTube series work with them that's all featured or will be featured on their YouTube channel as like resources to help the athletes that they can send it out to.
Mhm.
So they've been really good about working closely with me. And even the way that we're storytelling, we were talking about it before, is it different covering the teens versus elites? And yeah, it kind of has to be, especially when you're talking about teens and the stakes shouldn't be as high in the sense of the pressure shouldn't be as high. So the
Mhm.
interview should be a little bit lighter, or the interview should be specific to, hey, what are some of the issues that teen athletes deal with? Like,
Age
what are,
appropriate?
Yes,
Age
age
yeah,
appropriate.
appropriate. Age
exactly.
appropriate. Yes.
Sure.
So much of life, it just should be age appropriate
Mm.
in so many
Yes.
ways. So for you, when you found out that they were gonna separate the events, for you, you were excited about that? Because I know there was a little bit of backlash of, like, it's not gonna get the same coverage, it's not gonna do this, it's not gonna do that, but at the same time, um, with everybody splitting and HQ and all that.
Jeffrey Birchfield, great work at TFX. Thanks.
Oh.
He really wants to hear about the guns. We're gonna get there, Jeffrey. I promise I'm gonna ask her about the guns.
Mhm.
Promise.
Go
I
ahead.
got it.
Go ahead. You can ask me about the guns. Go ahead, Jeffrey. You win.
You
Jeffrey,
win.
what's the question? What's the question?
I lost my
It was
train of thought
yeah, it
now.
was already back at the but it looks like here, let me just share
Was
this
he
real.
asking about tactical games?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that what it was? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Actually, that is a very interesting sport because I think that oh, what we
This
have in
is
our
so cool.
heads.
You guys look badass with the I
Yep.
I was like, "Oh, I haven't shot in a long time, but now I kinda wanna go." Like
I think it's so funny because whatever idea you have in your head of what something is going to be like I try to go into things blind, but you're always going to have some kind of made up idea in your brain. And in my head, when I was getting involved with tactical games, I thought that it was going to be essentially like a country concert tailgate when you show up and there's a lot of like Make America Great hats, and there's a lot of Confederate flags, and there's a lot of people wanting to be really political. And it couldn't be further from that. Everybody is so inclusive. Like the amount of support that you get from that community to making you feel safe with a firearm, making sure that you are educated and you know the terminology, and hey, you don't have all of the equipment, here's my truck, have at whatever you need, just return it at the end of the day. It is like this, not that I was really having ideas in my head, but you have a little bit, and
Mm.
it couldn't have been a better experience and opportunity to like learn about tactical games,
So
in the sense
it's
that
so
I didn't grow up with guns. My family was like, you can't even have squirt guns. You can't point it at each other. That's bad. And it wasn't until later in life when I moved to Wisconsin that I had some friends that would take me out shooting. And I remember the first time that I ever held a gun, I nearly passed out because I was so nervous, thinking,
Mm,
oh my God, I'm holding this weapon essentially. And it was
mhm.
at that point that I learned how the thing operated. I learned that, hey, as a single woman who lives alone, it's probably important for me to learn how to use one of these and be able to defend myself in case of an emergency. But
Mhm.
now transitioning in it with it into a sport and this community has been seriously so cool. And there's a lot of crossover with CrossFit athletes and High Rocks athletes and all of these athletes from different fitness backgrounds, that it's really a cool environment.
I think that just goes to show that people just everywhere with different backgrounds can get together, have some fun, throw down, have a good time. Doesn't matter where you came from, doesn't matter where
Mhm.
you're going. Just, hey, this is, and that that's always just been the beautiful thing about CrossFit for me. And coming from a military background, I was raised by my grandfather, Marine to the core, and just the values that are instilled in you coming from there. You just everybody just go have a good time,
We're
dude.
better
Like,
together.
yeah,
We're
than
better
we are.
together.
For
Yeah.
sure.
We have more fun together, and we get to share, and we get to learn from each other. And so was this your first time shooting a gun?
No, so when I lived in when did I move out of Wisconsin? In 2019. So while I was there, I
Always
had bought
Wisconsin.
Always
I always
Wisconsin.
we always go back to Wisconsin somehow.
Yeah.
I had bought my own, pistol, and every now and then I go to the gun range here, and I'll shoot it, and it's mostly me and a bunch of, like, old army vets that it's really fun because they always wanna, like, show off their, like,
Sure.
guns and let me
Mhm.
try
Yeah.
them out, so
Yep.
it's actually really fun. But I didn't have a ton of experience with rifles, so maybe I had shot a rifle maybe 3 times before. And then I thought, the best way for me to learn about tactical games is I need some hands-on experience. So they had this athlete camp that put me through everything from a lecture to taking apart the guns, cleaning them, putting them back together, figuring out what actually makes the bullet go out of the gun. It's this little tiny piece of metal, which kind of blows your mind because you're like, it makes such a big boom and like it has the ammo go out, and all
Yeah.
it is this little tiny piece of metal, which to me was really fascinating.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's amazing to learn that, like, people who like their guns and like to go shooting and like to do things like the tactical games, like, we're not crazy. We're not crazy people running around hoarding weapons
No.
to start the end of the next, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
fun, it's a good time, and it is self-defense. It's like learning jujitsu or martial arts
Mhm.
or whatever. And, like, nowadays, probably, like, I had a friend of mine tell me, because my wife was coming home from Utica, and we share locations, and he's like, "You have your wife?" Yes, I can look and see where my wife is. Why? Because it's safety.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? I'm not worried about. I'm worried about if she's okay and if I need to go get her at some point. Like, so yeah, they always want to label people who like guns or anything patriotic in a way like we're nuts. We're not. It's just a good time. We like to be around people that like the same things. It's a good time.
Well, yeah, and it gives you such an appreciation of like being able to shoot and being able to shoot with an elevated heart rate and even the clearing procedure and learning how to be incredibly safe. It's funny because you could look at a sport like that and think, "Oh my God, there's hundreds of guns here. There's hundreds and thousands of
I
rounds
may
of
import a
ammo."
few weapons. Yes, as
But-
shit. I am sure that you do, girl. I'm sure you do. Not mad at it. Not mad at it at all.
But it's a place where I've never felt safer, and they really take safety as the number one priority, which they have to. But it is a really, really cool sport and even a cooler community.
Oh, this
That
is a good
reminds
one.
me a lot of CrossFit.
Have you ever shot Hashik? They had a blast and I got NRA cert to coach like the L1 for trap. Have you shot like
Oh.
clays and whatnot yet? That's
When I was
fire.
a TV reporter, I did it for a live segment.
Is it online somewhere?
Oh, I'm sure it's somewhere
Oh,
deep in
God.
YouTube.
Shoot, I gotta find it. That's fire. That's awesome. That's fun. That's a good time.
Yeah,
I used to do
that
that
was a
in
lot of
Idaho a
fun.
lot. It was good. It was fun. Oh my God, lady. Thank you so much. I really do. Oh, I did want to show you one more thing just so we can geek out on it's a small picture. I apologize and I don't know how to make it bigger. So but this is Ray or this
Oh my
is
God, there he
Rain Man.
is.
Do you
That's
know
my
Ray Man?
brother.
That's her brother.
Does he look familiar?
Yes. Would he be at K Rockathon? But I feel like he also had performed at Varick Street before.
No, he's a DJ.
No,
He would have been
he's a DJ.
he would have been the
behind the mic, the
giveaways.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
K-Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
that's my
What a small
brother.
world.
That's my brother.
Bringing it full
Craziness.
circle.
Full
I had to
circle.
bring it back around. I was like, Rain Man. But he was really cool. And then he did do actually ESPN too. He went to sports too. Everybody just wants to talk about sports. I don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah.
Let's just all talk about sports. The world will be a happier place.
That's
Girl,
all
I
we need.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably know way more about sports than I do. I know you probably don't feel like you do, but I know about this much about sports, just enough to be able to ask one or two questions while the Super Bowl is on.
I made her watch football. She made me watch Dance Moms. So if I
Yeah.
have to watch
That's the
that's a good
true side.
compromise.
That's the true side.
then you're watching the
of-
Giants.
Okay,
all
wait. So you watched Dance Moms growing up?
Yes.
Okay. Have you listened to the interview on Call Her Daddy with JoJo?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I don't. I have not seen the interview, but like,
Okay, she recently
I
was
have
on, and I was
seen
like,
it.
"Oh my God, Dance Moms! I have to go
Yeah.
watch this." Yeah,
I can't get past gay pop and how she invented gay pop. If she didn't
She
say that,
didn't-
I'd be fine. But she said
did
it, and I'm
not
like,
invent gay pop.
girl, I was born in the 1900s.
wait, she said she invented that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm like,
that's tough because how old is she? Like 22?
She's 5.
I was gonna say
I was
she
born
a
in the
baby.
Yeah, she's-
1900s. Like,
You-
She young. She didn't invent it.
no. It's-
Cher, anybody? Elton John? Anybody? No.
And she said that she was those people though. Like she
Oh.
compared herself to them, and I was like, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wait, in the episode, did I black that part out?
No, not there was a different one, but I saw
okay.
the episode that you saw, but there was a different one that she said that, and she,
It was like a reel of an interview or that she did or whatever.
and she's like, I'm revolutionizing gay pop, and I'm like,
It's been around for a
That's
long
like-
time, sweetheart. A long time. A long
Cher's
long
like
time.
80, like
looking like she's still 40. Like just
I know.
she looks
Like
amazing.
crazy.
bless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing. Well, girl, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah,
This was
really.
so fun.
Thank you for this.
Oh, this was such a great conversation. You guys are awesome. I want to do this more.
I was gonna say, I'm
Any-
gonna be in your DMs again because you need to come hang out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
And
if
if
you
you live
guys are ever
upstate-
back in, yeah,
He was
the three of
just
us
there.
I
need
was
to-
just there.
let's go to Varick Street.
Oh my
Run it
God.
back, run it back
Let's go. Oh
with
my
our
God.
real IDs.
With our real ones this time. Yeah. But you're gonna be so we don't get
I'll
up
be
there
at home
as
with the
m-
kid.
we don't
I'll
get up
pick you
there
up
that much.
from Varick
Oh, come
Street.
on.
Nope, I'm
And
old.
then we can go
girl.
to Mickey D's.
Yeah, that's y'all. I did
I'll
that.
bring Mickey D's home for her.
I'm old.
blessed.
But yeah, we'll definitely talk again. We'll definitely do this again. There's so many more questions and so many more memories I
Yeah,
want to just like
for
talk
sure.
about and whatever. But thank you so much for doing this. It was so much fun. So before you go, what's your next adventure? Where are you going next? What are you showing us next? What are we doing?
So this might be a little bit random, but the
Oh,
next
We like
event
random.
I'm covering is actually a golf event
You
in Myrtle
are.
Beach.
that my grandma's down there. Come visit. Oh shoot, when are you going? My grandma's in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, perfect. I'll be there from May 8th till the 13th, and then I'm home one day, and then I'm off to France for semifinals.
Golf girl? Golf?
A golf event, yeah. Yeah. I actually grew up in a big golf family, and I interned
Oh,
with the
okay.
golf
I was like,
channel
you
in
must
college.
come from
Yeah.
golf because who
It makes
wants to
sense,
go
but
watch golf?
okay, golf, I personally don't love watching golf on television, but
Okay.
going to an actual golf event is pretty fun.
Okay.
It's one of
I'll
those
have
sports
to
you got to
trust
be in
you.
person to enjoy.
I have to trust your word because my brother is a big sports and all sports. He loves them all. And
Yo,
I've watched him.
I threw Bob Costas out of the US Open one year because I didn't know who he was and he had a cell
Oh,
phone.
that's
He
amazing.
wasn't supposed to have a cell phone at the event. It was
He
at
should know the rules, though.
he was at Shinnecock Golf Course and he like didn't have his press pass and there was a whole press entrance, but instead he came through general entrance. And my like 20-year-old self was like, bro, you can't have a cell phone. And he's like, do you know who I am? And I'm like, no. Like, I don't know who you are. Bob,
No, and I don't care.
I'm a 20-year-old. I don't give a crap.
Doing my job, like making
he's-
sure that nobody goes in like they're not
He's
supposed
literally up to my armpit. I didn't give a shit. I wasn't scared. Like, I was like, you're out, bro. Bye. Like, so that's on my resume.
to. So funny.
Oh my
But
God.
awesome.
I love
Well, have a safe and fun trip.
Yeah,
and we'll catch all
enjoy.
your stuff, and we'll set this up for a time when you're.
We'll hit up Barrack Street end of the summer. I'll try to catch you after the games. We'll hit up Barrack Street.
Oh my gosh!
Perfect.
Sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
I can't wait.
Okay.
All right, girl. Thank you so much. Have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, that was fire. That was so fun, guys. Thanks for
I know. We could just reminisce about.
Oh
the
God, I could talk to
circles
her
that
all freaking night. Are you kidding me? It was
Yeah.
like normal shit that like
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to. It's
oh
fun to. It's fun to talk about other
Yeah.
things
I
from
don't-
people in CrossFit than just CrossFit. We love getting the inside scoop. We love asking the questions about the people, but at the same time,
well,
like
you know her. Like I've seen her interviews. Like I know what the stellar CrossFit career that she has. Like I know the work that she puts in. Like you see it everywhere. And I just really wanted to know about her.
Yeah.
And it was so crazy when we found out where she was from because it's like,
I'm like, wait a second.
shit, I know that
Hold on
street.
a
What?
second.
I was drunk on that street. I went left on that
I partied
street.
there.
Yeah,
I talked there. I went there, and
it was very cool. It was super fun. So, guys, thanks
Yeah.
hanging out with us as always. We love you, Judy Reed, Jeffrey Birchfield, Kenneth the Lap. Ooh, dude, I missed you. I'm sorry. Chick, you're hysterical.
yes,
D Reed,
yep,
love all you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. Really appreciate it.
yeah.
Audrey, thanks, guys.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Clinton,
And
thanks.
I'm home. She made it. I'm good. I came home.
Yeah, I
like-
survived. I was left unattended for like 5 days, but I made it. I'm okay now.
I'm home. Everybody's good. And thanks for hanging out with us last time when I was walking around the streets of
Utica.
Utica.
Clinton, thanks.
All right, guys. Till next time. Bye.
Deuces.